Hello everyone. Now this is a conversation from the latest episode of my podcast, The Weekly Planet. I'm recycling it here because, well, for one, I have a baby due in a shockingly short amount of time, and I've been working to try and bank some videos so I can have a break when that rolls around. And two, I think it's a pretty interesting look at the roles people nearly got in movies. I also added some images this time around so you can take a look at some of the casting choices. And also so that this is fresh and new and exciting, I guess. But yeah, look, I appreciate your understanding. Please leave a like if you want. And stay safe out there because of the virus. Anyway, we got a topic, don't we?
We do have a topic.
And the topic that, well, actually, we got a few suggestions because we did throw it out on patreon.com.
I had a moment of panic there. You were like, we've got a topic. And I'm like, do we have a topic?
No.
I forgot. No.
The topic that we decided on was from Joshua, who says, casting what ifs, i.e. Sean Connery was almost Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, or Harrison Ford was almost Alan Grant in Jurassic Park. So I think that's a great jumping off point for both of those. We've got some lists, don't we, Mason?
We love lists.
I've got an absolute banger for the end.
Oh,
like a soul-crushing one for the person associated with it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're going to love it.
That's some good sizzle right
Just
there.
to clarify, the person is fine, but
that's good.
When you hear the numbers that I'm talking about, everybody who hears this is going to shoot themselves.
And that's what we need in these trying times. I mean, because oftentimes when we do, say, a Caravan of Garbage about a specific movie,
yes,
often we'll talk about alternate castings and stuff like that.
Totally.
So I'm sort of good. I'm excited to kind of just get them out there and really chew on them, you know?
Delve into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So for those people who don't know, Sean Connery was offered the role of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. I think part of the reason that he turned it down was also because you have to live in New Zealand for 17 years while they film those movies.
Right, yes.
I think also the film benefits from not casting him because even though Ian McKellen is known,
yes,
he wasn't super well known then.
No, he wasn't household name kind of.
And he had kind of dropped off the map also because when he came out, because he came out quite early for an actor in those days, he kind of disappeared for quite a long time. Like, like he was still always working and doing stage, but he didn't kind of get elevated to the heights where he's at now until the late 90s, early 2000s with this and X-Men and a bunch of other projects he's done. But Sean Connery didn't understand it, so he didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because there's not a lot to not understand in Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
Like, I mean, ultimately...
do you think maybe he tried to read the book?
Well, that might be it because, you know, the mythology is quite complicated.
Yes.
And the history of, you know, the various Middle-earth races is quite complicated and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, it's a bunch of, like a band of friends get together to take a ring across a landscape and put it in a volcano. That's it.
He doesn't need to know all that other stuff.
No, that's true,
He just needs to know you're the wizard who helps.
Right, yes.
A bit. A little bit?
A little bit.
Yeah.
So, you wave a stick.
Yes.
You get upset sometimes.
That's essentially it, yeah.
Occasionally you're going to have to fall backwards onto a blue screen mattress, which we're going to pretend is an eagle. And we're going to draw an eagle in later. That's all you need to know,
It's
Sean
another
Connery.
thing you do not need to worry about.
That's right, yes. Yeah. Maybe he's suspicious, though, because he's an old school actor.
Oh, totally.
And, you know, and... he's done action and all sorts of stuff, sci-fi and fantasy beforehand, but I imagine a lot of that was practical.
Yes.
And I imagine, you know, and a lot of the Lord of the Rings movies would have been practical as well, but there would have been stuff of like, this whole room is green screen.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what's the end result going to be?
Yeah.
Could be ridiculous.
Could have been Lord of the Rings, could have been The Hobbit.
Could have been that they were like, you're going to have to wear this dress. And he was like...
Absolutely not. What do you think of my Sean Connery? This is unacceptable.
Well,
if
you could stop playing those recordings of Sean Connery and do your impression, then I'd be able to evaluate it. Okay?
I'm actually genuinely embarrassed. Like, it was supposed to be bad, but I still feel bad about doing that because it's worse than I thought it would be.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, look, honestly, though, I think Ian McKellen is a much better choice for multiple reasons. For one, he was able to come back as Gandalf for The Hobbit. He's a highlight of those movies.
That's true.
Even though they nearly broke him because that was mostly green screen. Sean Connery had long retired at that point. And of course, there is the famous story that we've often talked about where he went on to do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen because he turned down The Matrix and he turned down Lord of the Rings.
Morpheus in The Matrix,
That's right, yeah. And maybe even The Architect. They might have even circled back around him for that.
All right.
But... and then
Sean, please. Yeah. I don't know why we keep asking you, but we'll give you so much money. And just have to be a man in a suit. You've done that before.
Yes.
You have to stand in a room. We'll put up an auto cue that says vis-a-vis concordantly, ergo, Just say the words.
Say the words.
We'll give you millions of dollars.
That's
And he's
right, yeah.
No, I don't understand what you're saying.
So that's why he did.
Look at this bucket of chicken. You just have to dress like the man on the bucket of chicken and say some complicated words.
We'll provide the clothes.
We'll provide them.
You can keep the chicken.
That's
also,
right,
that's
yes.
yours.
You can put it on your head in a game of cricket.
That's absolutely fine. So that's why he did Alex G.
Yeah, right.
Which was his last movie, live action, but then he did like a weird animated Scottish movie, which we'll talk about another day. But the other thing is, the other one I mentioned was Harrison Ford was almost Alan Grant, which makes sense because he'd worked with
the Jones Boys.
Jones Boys.
Both turned down.
That's
some
right. Yeah,
major
well,
roles.
he worked with Spielberg, obviously, on the Indiana Jones films and probably other things, probably.
Yep.
So I think that would have been a great casting as well as Alan Grant. I think it also maybe would have changed the dynamic. Oh, not so much. Maybe not so much. In the book, Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler, whatever her name is.
Yes.
They're not in a relationship. He's older. He's like a mentor.
Yeah,
and
right,
they changed that for the movies. But they probably, Harrison Ford was early 50s then, so I probably would have left it as a relationship. But I think that would have been fine. I think that would have been a decent casting as well.
Do you feel like Harrison Ford in that role, again, it's like the Sean Connery as Gandalf. Do you feel like he would have been too famous? Would it have taken you out of the movie? Because I feel like, I feel like, Goldblum and Laura Dern are kind of, they're household names and you recognize them now.
Yep.
But I feel like at the time, I wouldn't have known them.
No.
They would have been like working actors.
Yes.
I would have been like, well, I can see them as the characters before the actors.
Sure.
Whereas Harrison Ford, I'd be like, oh, it's Harrison Ford. He's doing it. He's doing a role.
Absolutely. So, the most famous person in that movie, I mean, you could argue like Jeff Goldblum, The Fly, and a bunch of other things that he'd done.
It's the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes, that's right. But the most famous person in that is...
Attenborough?
Well, probably... maybe, but not for kids.
No, absolutely not.
So Sam Neill off the back of, he'd been doing a lot of stuff at that point, but he wasn't a huge actor. Well, he's not, not that he's a huge... No, actually, everyone knows who Sam Neill is. Yeah, I know. I like the way it ended up.
I do too. Sometimes things just work out.
Don't they just?
In fact, thus far, these have both worked out.
Well, this is the
opposite.
opposite.
I mean, not for those actors.
No, sure.
But at the same time, they're both rich.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and there seems to be, we're leading up to some form of tragedy at the end that you're building towards.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, most of these people are still rich and famous, so
That's true.
It's fine.
Not so much this one, because Dougray Scott was cast as Wolverine.
That's right.
Sorry, I should have asked you for one before I jumped into this.
Oh, it's Dougray Scott as Wolverine.
Oh, is it really?
Is it Dougray or Dougray?
Well, it's spelled Doug Ray, but it could be Dougray.
I think it's Dougray Scott.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was cast, but there was some overlap between that and Mission Impossible, and also he was apparently injured. Some other people who turned down the role of Wolverine or who wanted it was Mel Gibson, Danzig.
Glenn Danzig.
Misfits.
And the band Danzig.
Yeah, yes. Is he from Misfits?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Russell Crowe, they wanted Russell Crowe, which probably would have been a pretty good choice.
Yeah.
So they got Hugh Jackman off the back of all of these people either turning it down or being unavailable. And Hugh Jackman got this amazing career off the back of this. I think Hugh Jackman...
not paperback hero, obviously.
Sure. But I think there's a good chance Hugh Jackman would have been famous regardless.
For something, yeah.
Yeah. So... But who
like would have just waited till the musical was back.
Exactly.
Just do musicals.
Strike when the iron be hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like in this particular instance, the biggest change to whatever actor was cast as Wolverine would be they'd be ripped all the time. Like because like Jackman is, he's an older actor now and he's pretty much definitively retired from Wolverine, but he's in very good shape.
Yes.
He's been in very good shape for decades now.
Yes.
And some of those other actors you mentioned, perhaps not so much.
Yeah,
I feel like you have to retain a certain level of fitness.
Are you pointing at Russell Crowe specifically?
No.
Just to clarify, yeah. He fluctuates, depending on what he's doing.
Yeah, right.
He's getting abs for Robin Hood.
He's looking good for, Man of Steel, as an example.
Yeah, that's a good example. I love the photo of him punching a dart in the Jor-El costume. I like the idea of that. So,
someone should Photoshop it so it's like it's going off to like some sort of space hookah pipe.
Sure.
It's floating in midair or whatever.
It's maybe got some data that he's observing.
Yeah, he's observing some data.
So have you got another one?
Let me see. This one is new to me, but I think it's kind of fascinating. Ernest Borgnine as Vito Corleone.
Really? Okay.
In the Godfather movies.
He's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are some roles where he's, not a kind of a kind-hearted kind of, lovable goofball kind of character.
Yeah, totally. You look at like, even in movies like Gattaca,
Yep.
or you go back to, what's that war movie?
McHale's Navy? The sitcom?
What's it called? All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he would have done a good job. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with that not happening.
Same.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's fine. I mean, he's dead.
He's dead. He died.
He's dead, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's still fine.
Yes. Off the back of that,
Yes.
we're circling back to The Godfather. I had this one for later, but Jack Nicholson apparently turned down the role of Michael from The Godfather.
Ah.
And he said at the time, and this is what he was quoted as saying more recently. Back then I believed that Indians should play Indians and Italians should play Italians. Who knows what he believes now?
Right.
That's what he said at the time. So that's why he didn't end up taking on that role. Those movies are fine, and Jack Nicholson is fine and has done a number of movies of the caliber, I feel, of The Godfather. So I think that's not really, it's not a loss for
absolutely.
anybody.
No.
Yeah. If we're talking Lord of the Rings, though,
Yes.
the role of Aragon was offered to Russell Crowe, and Stuart Townsend was famously cast, as people may know from
Queen of the Damned.
Queen of the Damned and definitely other things.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes, and definitely other things. But they actually started filming. There's images of him dressed as Aragon, but they realized that it wasn't working. He looked too young, and they just basically shipped him off and
Yeah, wow.
replaced him. Yeah.
That
Would have changed a lot of things, I feel, for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be a very awkward conversation to have.
He could have been in the movie Hidalgo.
He could have been in Hidalgo, exactly. He could have been in Eastern Promises.
Yeah.
Could have had a nude knife fight in a
Yes.
steam room.
I feel like Viggo Mortensen
Yes.
could have kept doing movies like the Lord of the Rings. I'm sure he got offered them, but he kind of chose to make smaller, kind of quirky indie stuff.
Yeah.
He's just that kind of actor. I think that's really interesting. Anyways, you were saying.
Well, I was saying, I wonder if that's an awkward conversation to have, or do you think there's somebody on a movie set who just has no social graces whatsoever? Like, I'm Hollywood. There absolutely is some agent or some upper management type person who's just like comes in and it's just like, hey, let me just walk into the door at the end of the day of filming. You're fired. Yeah. Get out. Get in this car. They put him in the car.
Yeah,
they're closing the door. They're like, you're fired. Here's your walking papers. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Here's your economy class ticket home.
Yeah.
Your 14
from
hour
New Zealand.
flight. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Do you think you get paid for the entire movie?
No, I think you'd get a fraction of what you were supposed to get. I mean, it depends on your contract,
I guess
obviously.
that's true, yeah. Mhm.
I'd imagine they had a clause in it where, because he wasn't a Sean Connery, where he doesn't probably get paid for the full price regardless.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm just assuming.
Yeah, right. How about this one?
I'm ready.
This is one of my favorites. You might have this on your list also.
Sure.
Arnold Schwarzenegger as King Koopa.
Yes.
Super Mario Brothers movies.
I think we maybe talked about that briefly.
I think we did,
when we
yeah.
covered that for Caravan of Garbage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he would have done very well in that role.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing though. That was 1993,
Good
right?
thing he didn't.
When did Terminator 2 come out?
91?
Was it 91?
Yeah.
Oh, then it's fine then. Don't even worry about
You
it.
think that would have affected...
I thought I was under the impression Terminator 2 came out in 94.
No, I think it's set in 94.
It is set in 94.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah.
The far off future.
Exactly, yeah.
94. Yes. So off the back of that, though, I mean, a year after that, you get True Lies. Around the time he's doing like Last Action Hero, which wasn't widely regarded at the time, but it's considered a cult classic. That's he's done bombs and horrible roles before. He bounces back regardless. I don't think that would have affected him at all, to be honest.
No, that's true. And I mean, he was exactly, and he was kind of. There was a period where he was kind of bulletproof casting wise. Like he just barreled onto the next project kind of thing.
Like you get into your late 90s and your early 2000s, that's definitely not the case. And his persona has completely changed, where he's more of an Instagram personality now than a movie star. But
he's always leading like a Clydesdale around a.
That's right. Into a sauna or something.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. What about this one?
I don't think it would have changed the movie ultimately.
No, I don't think so either.
It would have been. Yeah.
I wonder if he would have walked though, because I feel like he was the kind of star, because that dragged on for months. Again, we've done a video on it.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper was there for 6 months when he was supposed to be there for 1 or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I wonder whether he would have put up with that, or he had the kind of agent that was just like, no, you're done and you're not doing it anymore. Yeah.
Or maybe he would have been like, well, I mean, maybe he would have gotten along with the directors in a way nobody else did. We'll never know, because he didn't do it, James. He didn't do the movie Super Mario Brothers 1993. He didn't do it. All this speculation is pointless, ultimately.
Yeah, why are we doing this?
I don't know.
Okay, if we're talking the 90s, though,
Yes.
Jerry Maguire, it was actually written with Tom Hanks in mind.
Okay.
Which I think would have worked. But he was working on That Thing You Do at the time, so it ultimately went to Tom Cruise.
Podcasting.
Yes.
That thing I do.
That thing you do
Oh,
specifically.
okay, wow.
Yeah.
He's a real pioneer in the genre then, isn't he?
I think so.
That was
Yeah.
a long time.
I think Tom Cruise in that movie sells a lot of sacker and crap. And I'm sure he was kind of a romantic lead then, so I'm sure he would have been able to do it.
Yeah.
But that speech at the end is pretty on the nose.
And you think Tom Hanks couldn't have sold that?
I think it would have changed the movie.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think Tom Cruise is really good. I don't know whether it's good or bad. I just think you put in a Tom Hanks, it's a different Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is
It
what
is.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's true, yeah.
The same could be said for any of these movies, really.
Yeah. Why are we speculating? What's going on?
What a waste of time.
No, it's never a waste of podcasting's never a waste of time. That's why Hanks got in the ground floor.
Well,
With
look,
that thing I do.
I think we really need to work out whether this is a waste of time by you picking just an amazing casting choice coming up next.
Adam Sandler as the Bear Jew in Inglourious Bastards.
I like that.
Right?
I think that would have been better.
Yeah.
I think that would have really added an element to that movie.
Because it was Eli Roth.
It's Eli
right?
Roth.
Yeah.
And I think if you know who Eli Roth is, and that's a fun cameo, I guess. But to me and people, I guess, who know him, he is known for making sadistic, twisted movies that are quite gory and you know what I mean? And if you put in someone like Adam Sandler, that's someone you don't expect to walk out of a tunnel and cave someone's head in with a baseball bat.
Exactly.
So I think that actually would have been better. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Tarantino wanted him as well, but there were scheduling conflicts, that's crazy.
I agree.
Just FYI, I watched Murder Mystery the other day.
And?
It's fine.
I know, right?
It is fine.
It's totally fine.
Yeah. I guess it's fine.
It's totally fine.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Here's one. Edward Cullen. You familiar?
From the Twilight films.
Correct. So Henry Cavill was quoted as saying this on the Graham Norton show. I think the writer of the books, when the movie came around, I think I was her first choice. That's the rumor I heard. And she wanted me to play the role, but it wasn't up to her. So that's why he wasn't cast. So maybe she was picturing him in her mind when she was also writing the books.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
that's an interesting choice.
How old was Henry Cavill when those movies came out?
About that age.
Like 109.
Yes. I don't know. I think he's a little
So
bit...
him and Robert Pattinson are about the same age.
And I think he's probably 4 years older, sorry. Yeah.
So how old would that make him portraying a 100-plus-year-old vampire in high school?
I think he's around our age, so he probably would have been 24-ish.
Okay,
maybe.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking Twilight was 2007,
But
maybe,
he wouldn't
2006.
look 24. He'd look like Henry Cavill.
Yes, but Henry Cavill...
Sorry, he wouldn't look like a teenager. He'd look like...
But Henry Cavill now
Yes.
looks different than Henry Cavill 10 years ago. Because that muscle that he put on for
Yes.
Superman, it kind of changes a lot of that guy.
Oh, right.
Because of
okay.
the muscles that
The
he
muscles makes him bigger.
has. Yeah.
More muscular.
I think ultimately this is probably for the best for both of those actors, though, because they're both doing well, regardless.
That's true.
Yeah. What else?
What else, James?
I love topics.
You do love topics. It's true.
You really brought this back with that excellent casting one you did earlier.
Thank you.
I can't remember it, but it was good.
It was Adam Sandler.
It was a good one.
Thank you.
That's what all I can remember.
Yeah.
Was that it was a good one.
Chris Farley is Shrek.
Yeah.
The late great Chris Farley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had he recorded some of that?
He recorded a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
as far as I know. Yeah. Yeah.
I also know that Mike Myers recorded a lot of that in his regular accent, and then went back and went, "I can do this Scottish-ish."
Oh yes, right.
And as a result of that, they had to tweak a lot of the animation, the mouth, to make it kind of fit the Scottish accent he was doing.
So ultimately, a Chris Farley casting would have been less stressful for the animators.
Yes.
So that's probably affected their lives in some way.
Ultimately, it's for the best for the franchise that it wasn't Chris Farley because he died and he couldn't have done
That's true.
the 47 sequels and spin-offs and Christmas specials
Absolutely,
and
yeah,
karaoke
yeah,
dance
yeah.
parties that came as a
Yeah.
result of that movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, not a good result for Chris Farley, but a good result for the Shrek franchise. And quite frankly, if I had to choose between the two,
Yes.
I'd rather not say.
Wow. Wow. But I think it would have affected the tone of the sequels as well. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think Farley's version, if you there's a you can find some audio and it's a
I haven't
it's a
seen this.
particular scene
Yeah.
that's in the released version of Shrek, and it's Farley, and it's kind of he's more of a goofball, and he just happens to be like an ugly goofball, and
Oh,
that
really?
affects his life in a different. But like my Shrek is kind of like he's just this awful
hates
misanthrope
it.
all the time, right? And I think that would have,
Yeah,
you know, it would.
think
I
you're
think it would have
right, yeah.
affected the direction of that movie and probably all the sequels as well.
Yes.
So,
and they would have had to replace him with Jim Belushi,
yes,
don't you think?
yeah, well, yeah. I was going to say or John Belushi, but that's
No, Mason.
Also dead.
That's why I didn't say John Belushi.
you are way ahead of the game. You are so ahead of the game.
These people were nearly cast as Rose in Titanic. Gwyneth Paltrow and Claire Danes.
Together?
Yeah, together, Jack and Rose. So Gwyneth Paltrow was obviously big and also up and coming around the time of Titanic.
That's why you need two women's
Take
together.
them together. That's what you get. Claire Danes, of course, had worked with Leonardo DiCaprio on Titanic. But I think that ultimately...
You mean Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, whatever. I think ultimately it's a
Yes.
good idea not to put them back together because you go into that movie with
a
that in
preconceived
mind.
notion, right.
Yeah, and then at the end, spoiler alert, it's a tragedy also.
what?
Yeah, I know you still
Is that the
haven't
tragedy you were mentioning earlier?
Yes.
Wow, okay, well, it's good. I'm affected emotionally, but I'm glad the tragedy has been covered in this podcast.
Feels
thus far.
good, doesn't
but
it?
I mean, DiCaprio and Winslet
Yes.
came back for Revolutionary Road, right?
They did,
They
yeah.
teamed up again.
Where they were just
For a
like, we
heist.
hate each other. We hate each other and we're married. Yeah.
We're going to take this road a quarter of a mile at a time. That's
And
what
we're married.
And we're married.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. Apparently it's excellent performances. Is Michael Shannon in that?
He might be.
Yeah, but what if he isn't?
It seems like exactly the kind of movie he would be in. So let's assume he is in it. It's a period piece, but requires some brick-headed character actors to be stoic or possibly angry. Or stoic then angry.
The dream.
Yeah.
What else?
Will Smith, Neo.
Yeah, I got that one as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He actually spoke about that recently on his Will Smith YouTube channel. He said when they...
Getting in it, aren't they? All these celebrities, they're getting into the YouTube.
This is my game.
They're getting into the podcast game. God.
They're revolutionizing it in a lot of ways,
It's
aren't
that
they?
thing they do, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know?
So there was speculation for years of why he turned it down, but he spoke about it recently. And he said when he was brought in, the Wachowskis were like, okay, what we're thinking, like, imagine you're in a fight and you like jump. Imagine you could stop jumping in the middle of the jump, but then people could see around you at 360 degrees while you stop jumping. We're going to invent these cameras and then these people can see the whole jump when you stop in the middle of the jump. And he's just like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because what are you talking
Makes
about?
a lot of sense, yeah.
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 That's one of these things which you always talk about where you go into a movie, it's all blue and green screen. What is happening? Is this good? I don't know.
I mean, that we talked about Connery mere minutes ago.
Yeah.
Probably the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like what happens to Morpheus in that movie? Like some of the earlier stuff. I'm sure they're like, okay, you're in an empty room, and then it's a karate dojo, and then Keanu Reeves is going to come at you, and you're going to leap over his head.
Yeah.
You know, and he'd be like, I'm not going to do
I'm
any
80.
of those things.
I'm 80.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any of that. You know?
Yeah. I think Will Smith would have probably been good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think also Keanu Reeves was excellent in that movie. So that's fine. And they're both fine.
They're both
Maybe
fine.
that should be the rating system. Are they both fine?
They're both fine. Yes, that's good, actually.
Yeah. Because, you can have a near miss in casting, like a Super Mario, or you
Yep.
can have like a tragedy like the one we're building up to.
Oh, my God. You lied to me. You said it happened.
Okay, well, off the back of that, I've got Han Solo.
We could have just done an episode that was just roles Sean Connery turned down.
Didn't do.
And also just roles that Mel Gibson didn't do.
So many.
Because he was in the running for Bond
like
as well.
Bond and Batman
Yeah.
and a bunch of stuff. Braveheart, he got it.
God, Braveheart,
Because
yeah.
he directed it
He's
also.
doing fine.
Well, he wasn't originally going to be William Wallace because he was like, I might be a bit old for this and I'm not Scottish. And they were like, good point, Mel Gibson. But then he went, but I am the director of this film.
So
I'm
I will
actor
be.
Mel Gibson.
So, yeah, right. Uh-huh.
Actor-director.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson. Han Solo,
Yes.
famously everybody in the 70s went up for this.
Right, yes.
It went to...
Which is interesting because
Lucas was up and coming.
Oh, because he did American Graffiti.
He did-
right?
And he was friends with Scorsese and,
right.
Spielberg.
It's all
and-
who you know.
So
okay,
you know
right,
what you
right,
know.
right,
And if you're Han Solo, which you
But
got
you
it.
would think that a Scorsese or somebody like that would be, don't go into this. It's
Yeah.
laser sword battles and spaceships. You know, what
They're
is
all
this?
mates, though.
I guess they were
Just
all
a bunch
mates.
of
Yeah,
uni
yeah, yeah.
buds.
Maybe it was all pranks.
Could have
Maybe
been
it's
all pranks.
like, yeah, my buddy George Lucas has got this.
You gotta...
Yeah, it's
Love
going to be
it.
great. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I can imagine you're at a bar. You're sitting down at the bar. Then a guy, he's looked like a green bagpipes. And he comes up to you and he's got a laser. He's going to shoot you with a laser. That's what it is. It's gonna happen.
It's like the Godfather in space. That's why you're gonna like it a lot.
Yeah.
So Al Pacino said it was mine for the taking,
Oh.
but I didn't understand the script.
Ooh, space.
Yeah, ooh, lasers, ooh, Greedo. That's my Sean Connery again. What do you
really
think?
good.
Yeah, it's good.
Clunky. Yes.
So a bunch like Kurt Russell was up for it.
Yeah.
Gary Busey.
Well, he was up for a lot of stuff because he was the
Disney man.
He was Disney's mystery man.
Yeah. So
They were like, "What? We got to put him in something." This is
for those who don't know, which may be the case for some. That was the last thing that Walt Disney wrote. And he was in a bunch. If you go to Disney Plus, there's a lot of young Kurt Russell is in a weird movie from the 70s movies.
Right.
And
because they were like, this guy's the golden child. We got to...
Yeah.
Disney knows what he's doing and he...
Yeah.
We got to cast him in everything.
He's great. I think Kurt Russell would have been excellent as Han Solo. And also, I say that looking at Kurt Russell now and go, yeah, he could do Han Solo again.
Still, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think Pacino's a bit like, you look at Pacino now and you're like, imagine that guy stumbling on board the Millennium Falcon, and I'm not quite sure that is the same.
Right.
I think if the door closed on his leg, it would kill him.
Yeah, sure. That's true.
I like Pacino.
Yeah.
A lot. But
no, they could just de-age him and have him shuffle into the Millennium Falcon.
Ooh-ah. Space.
Give him some big elevator shoes.
That's fine. That's a dangerous game, though, isn't it? When you're shuffling on board a spaceship.
That's true.
Patton Oswalt he's got that really famous comedy bit where he does Gary Busey as
Han Solo,
which people should look up. What else, Mason?
What about James?
Yeah.
What about... This one's also new to me, but it may not be new to you.
Okay.
Another potential The Terminator casting, O.J. Simpson.
Yes. Do you know why they didn't pick him?
Because they knew he would be a murderer in a couple of decades' time.
Nobody knew he was a murderer at that point. He had a film career off the back of not getting the Terminator. They thought he was too much of a friendly face.
Huh.
Lance Henriksen was also going to be the Terminator at one point because he looks more like an infiltrator kind of model. That guy could walk through a crowd and you wouldn't stop and look at him.
Yeah, but you would look at Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, you would.
Especially if he's nude and oiled.
Which he is always. So... good.
Yeah,
obviously,
absolutely.
because we wouldn't have got... Oh, no, because he would have done Terminator 2 before he did the murders. So we would have at least got Terminator 2, I guess.
We would have been riding high for 4 years.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have ultimately got several other Terminator
Wait,
films,
allegedly?
though.
What are we allowed to say?
No, he did it.
Oh, good.
He got off,
Yeah,
but he
that's true,
definitely did it, right? That's universally accepted.
That's not how slander works.
Okay. Well, he definitely allegedly did it.
Okay, cool.
In everybody's eyes.
Yep.
Including his own. Because
Yes.
he knows that he did it, allegedly. No, obviously. That's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that didn't happen.
There you go.
Here's a good one. We could do comic book ones for days. And
Anyway, they're fine, by the way. Both of them are fine. Both Arnold Schwarzenegger and O.J. Simpson.
that's true. He is.
They're
He's
both
just
fine.
out on the golf course
Yeah.
tweeting out insane shit to people while
Yeah.
literally every comment back is, you're a murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could do comic book ones for days. And we probably will at some
We'll
point.
come back and we'll do it,
But I
definitely.
found this one really interesting because Josh Hartnett was offered the role in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan was very much like, I want you to be, my Batman,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Hartnett. And he said, in that instant, I think my regret mostly was not forming a friendship or a creative partnership with the director more than I was not doing Batman. So he saw it as this kind of 3-picture deal, this role he would be tied to, he would kind of dog him for the rest of his life. But what he regrets is that, because off the back of that, Christian Bale, well, he's obviously gone on to do massive things, but he was in movies like the one where he's a wizard, and he's like, me and Hugh Jackman are wizards, and we're dueling wizards. Both of us have ideas for how to be the best wizard.
But I feel my wizarding is superior.
Jackman, though, thinks his wizards.
And I shan't be having it.
It's a good movie to a point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
But I mean, yeah.
like, Josh Hartnett is fine,
Yes.
but I think that would have changed his career. I think he wouldn't be doing Penny Dreadful, which
Yeah.
is a great show. He'd be doing whatever Christian Bale's doing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
potentially.
Killian Murphy also went in to audition
Yes.
for Batman, I think, or he thought he was going
No,
to.
he did. They all put on the Batman Forever suit.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
footage
that's right.
of Killian
Yeah,
Murphy.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
footage of some others.
Right.
Yes, that is correct. We'll save that for another
Ashton
day.
Kutcher as well, I think.
Really? I think he was
Yeah.
going to be Superman at one point in the early, or he was up for it as well in the early 2000s.
I mean, it's not that you know, it's not that outside the realm of possibility insofar as Topher Grace was Venom. So
That's right.
just get her that 70s show
Just
going.
get him.
Yeah.
Get him.
Yeah, get the dad.
He's in RoboCop too.
Yes.
That
That's
guy.
right, yes.
Yeah, very good. What else you got? I also have some if you want.
Okay, go ahead, sure.
Not a comic book movie, so I apologize to everybody. But La La Land, Miles Teller said he got the call from my agent saying, hey, I just got a call from Lionsgate. Well, this is off the back of them saying we definitely want you for this. He said Damien told them that he no longer thinks you're creatively right for the project.
Who's Damien?
Damien. He's moving on without you. So there is speculation.
Damien Wayans?
Yes. There is speculation
Yes.
that might be a result of Fantastic Four. But La La Land.
Yes.
Just want to check. I think La La Land came out in 2016. Yeah, so that does actually line up because La La Land came out in November of 2016.
Yep.
And Fantastic Four came out in August of the previous year.
Yeah, right.
So that is entirely possible. That is what happened.
Yeah.
I think Miles Teller probably would have been good in that, but Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, they're really good in that movie. So I'm okay with it. Also, he did Whiplash.
He did do Whiplash. And he did Divergent.
Yes, which one?
Allegiant specifically. He did
That's a
Allegiant.
good one, I
That
think.
came out after Fantastic Four. No, but he did both.
Yeah,
He did all of them.
Yeah.
He did Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant.
There's 3 of those.
And he did Get a Job.
Get a job.
He did War Dogs.
What dogs? Jonah Hill.
He's going to be in Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick.
As
He's Goose's son.
Bradley Bradshaw.
Bradley Bradshaw.
Bradley Bradshaw.
Is his name really Bradley Bradshaw?
No, it's Bradley Bradshaw. But his nickname's Bradley, so it's Bradley Bradshaw.
Son of Carrie Bradshaw and
Yeah.
Goose.
Yeah, that's right.
Terrific.
If it was me, I'd be Radley Bradshaw.
No, you'd be Bradley.
I would be Bradley.
No one would call you Bradley.
No, that's because that's the funniest one, I think.
So Annette Bening was going to be Catwoman.
Yes, that's
in
right.
the early 90s. She accepted the role, but she had to drop out because she got pregnant. I think she would have been great,
Yes.
but everything worked out for everyone on board for that. We talked a little bit about Bond, but Hugh Jackman was offered the role. He said, I was about to do X-Men 2, and the call came from my agent asking if I'd be interested in Bond. So maybe not confirmed, but
Right,
very much. There'd been an Australian Bond before, and everybody loved and remembered him. But he said, I felt at the time the scripts had become so unbelievable and crazy, and I felt like they needed to be grittier and real, which makes sense because this would have been just after Die Another Day.
Yes.
So there's every reason that he would not want to do that movie. And he probably spoke to Halle Berry, and she was like, fucking shit show,
They
mate.
promised me a franchise, and I got nothing.
I got jinxed.
Mm-hmm.
It works in a couple of ways, that word.
And then he would have been like, yeah, it does sound like you were jinxed. And she would have been like, no, my character's name was Jinx. And he would have been like, oh, I didn't see it.
Are you familiar with who was nearly cast as, or was cast as Indiana Jones?
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he was.
He
yes.
was cast. That's right.
He also, I forgot to mention earlier, but
Shia LaBeouf in future movies.
he was cast. But I forgot to mention that Harrison Ford was doing some carpentry at the time of Star Wars. And then they were just like, we need someone to read opposite some of these actors. Can you do
right.
it? Then they were just like, you. Yep. That's fine.
Oh, wow.
Because George Lucas didn't want anybody from he'd previously worked with in Star Wars. And
But he'd
been
worked with him in American Graffiti. So he's
yeah.
like, you're out, but...
You're out. And then
Now
you're back
you're
in. But also, you have to talk about it for the next 45 years if you do this movie. People,
But you'll be rich, so you'll have as much weed as you want.
but also, it's relentless, and you obviously will hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But the weed thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Any more?
That's all I've got.
I've got 2 left.
Okay. One's the tragedy.
One's the insane
Do you
one.
want to lead with the tragedy, then go with the fun one?
No, neither of these are actually fun.
Oh, no. Anyway, they're all fine.
Yeah, they are.
Whoever we mentioned then.
Exactly.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman's fine.
Yeah, he's doing
doing
real
great.
well. And Daniel Craig, fine. Hates it, but he's fine.
He's doing fine.
Yeah,
He'll love whatever he does next, maybe.
that's right. Brokeback Mountain. I didn't know this, but Gus Van Sant was attempting to adapt it for years before it went to Ang Lee.
Uh-huh.
I just read this. Obviously, he did many movies, including Finding Forrester with Sean Connery, I think.
Big news.
Yes.
If you were not around when this service was available, the website You're the Man Now Dog is back.
What do you mean by that?
It was gone for a while.
Yes.
You couldn't access it.
Yes.
But now, if you go to Google and you type in "You're the Man Now Dog," that website will. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Okay.
But if you want to do that,
so you're not even going to explain why you're saying you're the man now, dog?
No.
So if you haven't seen that movie, I should also point out he's done amazing things.
Yes.
Is including Good Will Hunting.
That's true.
So, and Milk and many other things. But while he was attempting, this is what he said about it. I was working on it and I felt like we needed a really strong cast, like a famous cast. That wasn't working out. I asked the usual suspects, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Ryan Philippe. They all said no. Nobody wanted to do it. I think that's also, just looking at the timeline of this, that would have been probably late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And there is definitely a stigma where you take on a role like this. A lot of times it's, it's often considered brave and like when Tom Hanks did in Philadelphia.
True, yeah.
But this movie is like hardcore gay sex, which hadn't really been done. Not really. It's like...
it had been done in real life.
Yeah, a lot of people have been doing it.
Yeah.
But they'd never been done to... Like they were passionate love scenes in a movie.
Yeah, that's right.
But between two men.
Prior to that, it had all been implied. Or, Philadelphia, it's just...
It's just like,
sad.
I hate this. What's happening to me? I don't like it. Tom Hanks, he's fine though. So that's... I'm not surprised by any of that, to be honest. Yeah. Anyway, I've just written here, this one is crazy.
Okay, great.
We are talking about the role of Jake Sully. Who's that?
Look, I only know who it is because of the constant references to what's the name of the guy in Avatar.
Yes.
We know it's Jake Sully now.
Yeah,
but if you'd asked me a year ago, wouldn't have a clue.
Sure. Or even before the movie Avatar.
I wouldn't have known then. No.
There's a big period of time in your life where you don't know Jake Sully. Is that right? Is that safe to assume?
Most of it, I would say. Actually, the majority of it. That is shrinking, obviously.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I'll have known of Jake Sully more than I hadn't known of Jake Sully.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on.
What do you think of the name Jake Sully?
Bad.
It's bad, right?
Yeah.
There's only a limited number of action hero names that are allowed to exist, and Jake is one of them.
Yeah, okay.
He can be Jake, he can be John.
What if it was Jake Good Kick? Is that better?
That's really good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's too late now, isn't
but
it?
it's ironic because his father was the one with the good kick.
Oh yeah, his legs didn't work.
Yeah.
That was a big point of that movie.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to do that, but that's where we are. Anyway, the role famously went to Sam Worthington. Matt Damon.
And again, that's a real drywall situation. That's a real Harrison Ford putting up shelves or whatever it was. Because didn't he supposedly, he was like, I don't even care.
And he spat on the camera.
Yeah.
And then James Cameron was like, that's the kind of attitude that I want. But he planned that out. It was like, that's the kind of kid that I want. Look at that fire and passion. He's an actor. He tricked you. Anyway, Matt Damon was offered the role.
Yes.
And this is the story from Matt Damon's perspective. This is what James Cameron said to him. Now listen, I don't need anybody. I don't need a name for this, a named actor. If you don't take this, I'm going to find an unknown actor and give it to him because the movie doesn't really need you. But if you take the part, I will give you 10%. Just to clarify, that movie made $2.78 billion. Right.
Okay, so it was 10% of the gross.
Yes.
Right,
Right.
That's cool. Isn't that similar
gross net, does it matter? Really?
No, it does. In Hollywood, it definitely does.
Because they can tweak the numbers.
They can tweak the numbers and they can be like, well, we've never actually made a profit on this movie.
Yeah.
Didn't Harrison Ford get a really good deal in the Star Wars movies?
Doesn't
he get
the
a
new
percentage?
one, yeah.
Right.
Force Awakens. He said, I couldn't do it. And he said, that sucked and that's still brutal, but my kids are all eating. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Which is true. He is beyond rich.
Yes.
So it doesn't really hurt that much. It's just the amount of money that he very clearly left on the table is staggering.
Does that mean Worthington got 10% of the gross?
Absolutely not. Because why would he?
Because he's an unknown.
He was an unknown.
Yeah, you're right.
He hadn't even done Terminator Salvation yet. He hadn't even done Man on a Ledge.
But that is wild because why would he give Damon 10% of the gross?
I think because he was a name and he would have counted on him bringing a certain demographic or a certain...
But he just finished saying,
yes.
I don't need you.
But that, I think, is just like a negotiating kind of tactic.
Right.
I guess. Huh. Just like, we'd love you to do it, but you don't have to
he was right. He didn't need a name.
He really didn't. Yeah. Anyway, this is the bit I like. I told John Krasinski this story when we were writing Promised Land. I tell him the story and he goes, what? And he stands up and starts pacing in the kitchen. Damon recalls Krasinski telling him that had he been cast in Avatar, nothing in his life would have been different, except right now we'd be having this conversation in space. Which
Right.
is, that's space. Let's go to space, buddy, really, isn't it?
No, I thought I interpreted that as because Matt Damon would have built a space laser and destroyed the Earth with it, and we'd all be floating in space like the Jetsons.
So, good thing then?
Yeah, mishap. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Look, in all honesty, I know I said that was insane. Sure, it's probably not as insane as, a very rich man didn't get even richer.
Right, yes.
But that to me is just a staggering turn of events.
I mean, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, though, so it's 10% of $2 billion. What's that?
2.78 billion.
Okay, so $270 million. There would be Hollywood actors who have $270 million.
Robert Downey
would have
Jr.
$270 million.
Depp
right?
probably would have had it at some point.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Before he bought all those suits in
Yeah,
in
and
Thailand
all the wine or whatever he's up to. Yeah.
Yes.
So, that's kind of where we're at.
Cage might have had $270 million.
Yeah, I think if you look at somebody like Jack Nicholson, probably off the back of Batman, he's probably got about that now.
Yeah, right.
Keaton's probably insanely rich.
Right.
I think a lot of these deals that used to happen don't so much happen now unless you're The Rock and it's your property and you're making it and you get a cut of Hobbs and Shaw because you're the lead of this shit movie.
Right.
I like The Rock.
You're getting a little off the top from all the Hobbs and Shaw Pez dispensers.
That's right, exactly, yeah. His would be bigger than Statham's. He'd make it so,
right.
wouldn't he?
But Statham's would be smarter.
And wider.
That's right.
Yeah.
And balder.
But the heads would be the same size.
They would be about the same amount of bald, wouldn't they?
Yes, they would.
But Statham's somehow balder.
Yeah,
you don't think of The Rock being bald.
No.
You think of Statham being very bald.
I think because Statham also spent a lot of his career keeping his hair cropped but not all the way down.
That's true, yeah.
Where The Rock started to lose his hair and just buzzed it back.
That's true.
Also, in the movie Get Shorty, I think he had like an afro.
He had an afro, yeah.
So people think that's his real hair.
Yeah.
And maybe it was.
Maybe.
It's a mystery.
Yep. What are we talking about? I've lost my train of thought.
Doesn't matter.
No, but also, they're $270 million. That's a...
Yeah. And again, it's probably less if it might not have been gross and whatever,
Yeah.
but still staggering. He doesn't need it. And
No.
it's fine. Everybody's fine. And that movie came out and there'll be more at some point
Yeah.
in our lives or our children's
But
lives.
think about how many front-facing videos Matt Damon would be making now if he wasn't chasing that next role, you know?
God, you're not wrong.
Yeah. $270 million worth.
Maybe that's money that ruins you. Maybe that's demotivating money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we're done.
We are done. Absolutely.
We're on to the next segment of the show.
Oh, what are we reading?
What are we going to read?
Oh, my goodness. What have you been reading?
I haven't done the theme song yet.
I know. I'm just saying gird yourself. Gird your loins.
I'm girding it.
Okay.